Good evening and welcome to the annual Candidates Night. The Candidates Night is sponsored jointly by the Windsor Chamber of Commerce and the Windsor North Central League of Women Voters. This event is nonpartisan and does not seek to endorse any candidate or party. The purpose of this meeting is to introduce the candidates to the public and to inform voters of the upcoming election. The election is Tuesday, November 3rd. The last day to register to vote is October 27th in person at the town hall. If you have any questions about where or how to vote, you can go to the town website or call the town clerk or registrar of voters. Now, tonight's program is live streaming through the Windsor Chamber of Commerce's website. And the website is the following: windsorcc.org. And there will be a button right on the main page for you to click on to have live streaming. And after the conclusion of our virtual candidates night, you will be able to view it on Win TV. Now, I would like to introduce Marilyn Beam, who is our timer for tonight. She is a member of the League of Women Voters. The candidates joining us tonight are running for state's office, those men and women who represent us in Hartford at the Connecticut General Assembly, the state senators and the state representatives. First, we will hear from the candidates for the state Senate. Windsor is represented by two Senate districts, the 2nd and the 7th. Tonight, we are joined by the candidates for the 7th Senatorial District, Mr. John Kissel and Mr. Fred Moffa. We are also joined with Douglas McCory, the candidate for the 2nd Senatorial District, and he is running unopposed. Our moderator for tonight is Steve Picaro, who will review the ground rules and facilitate the debate. Steve, you're up.
Thank you, Agnes, and welcome everyone. If you haven't noticed, this is a slightly different format that we are doing this year because of what's going on. So there are a few small changes in our format. Our ground rules are simple tonight. Some of the rules that we've had in the past aren't appropriate to our virtual meeting format. So very simply, I'm going to go over the format as a reminder and very simply, two things. Because we're on Zoom and we've all become experts over the last few months, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself just to give the other person an opportunity to speak. Also, we are being recorded. We'll share this later on Win TV for those people who couldn't join us live. And then very simply, again, act professional in terms of sharing information. And in case there is an outage, and again, most of us haven't had any problems with technology, knock on wood. If you do get disconnected, if you do have a technology problem, we're going to roll with that. Just jump back on as soon as possible. We'll try to hold your spot and continue. So from the get-go, we're going to have a 1-minute opening comment for each candidate, and we'll start that. Marilyn will be our timer, and as she get close to the minute, she'll hold up her little note there. So keep an eye on her if you think you're getting to the end of your time. We're going to have 2 minutes for each candidate to respond to a general question that it's pre-picked. Our questions, we're not accepting questions from the audience right now because of the format. Unfortunately, we don't have the means to be able to take questions live, but we do have a good selection of questions that you'll be answering tonight. After that, we'll have an individual question for each candidate for approximately 2 minutes, and then we'll have a 1 minute for rebuttal from the opposing candidate. And then finally, we'll have a 1 minute closing statement from each candidate before we wrap up. So as a reminder, we're going to be doing our senatorial candidates first and then our House of Representatives at approximately 6:30. Any questions from any of the candidates before we jump in? All right, well, if you understood that, you're ahead of the game. So at the moment, we're going to jump right in and we're going to go right over to our 1 minute opening comment. And Douglas, I'm going to go over to you first and ask you to jump in because you were here first. So please take it away.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this program on. Again, you guys have done an excellent job. I think this is my second, maybe my third forum with you guys, and they've always been professionally done. And I really appreciate you, Agnes, Marilyn, and yourself also, Steve. I'll be very quick. My name is Douglas McCory. I am the senator for the 2nd Senatorial District, which includes the towns of Windsor, Bloomfield, and Hartford. I've been in this position for 3 years now. Prior to that, I was in the House of Representatives. I was in the House, and I served in the House for I got elected initially in 2004. I'm currently the chair of the Education Committee, and I also serve on the Judicial Committee with Senator Kissel, and I also serve on the Finance Committee. I'm really excited about coming back and serving and representing Windsor at the state capitol. I'll be focused on a number of things this year, including health disparities, economic development, education-wise, financial literacy, and housing. Boom.
Excellent. Thank you. And see, Marilyn was all over that. So
Yes,
this
she
was
was.
interesting,
Great job.
not being there, corner of your eye, and good job. So it's interesting as we morph into this new format. We'll go with that. All right, John, I'm going to go over to you for your opening statement, and Fred's going to wrap us up. Please take it away, sir.
Sure. Can you guys all hear me? Awesome. Well, first of all, to Senator McCrory, thanks for the shout out. I'm State Senator John Kissel. I've been honored and blessed to be able to represent the folks in North Central Connecticut for the last 28 years. I am a Windsor native. I went to the late, great Sidney Hayden School, which doesn't exist anymore, John Fitch, Sage Park, Windsor High School. And I serve on the Judiciary Committee. I was tri-chair with Paul Doyle and William Tong, who's now the Attorney General for the state of Connecticut. I'm now ranking member, and I also serve on general law and other committees here in the legislature. I love serving the people of North Central Connecticut. I love serving the town that I grew up in. It's just humbling, to be quite honest. But given the COVID virus, we have like huge challenges ahead of us, including tackling budget deficits, and our rainy day fund is being depleted. And so we've got great challenges coming up, and I want to help solve those issues. And I'm asking for everyone's vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And as a reminder, Marilyn is holding up the time, and we do have a mute button, which we're not going to use tonight. We're not going to turn anyone off. We're hoping people just don't see Marilyn waving that flag, but if we have to, Agnes is going to give me that evil eye. We're going to have to move people. So
I hope we didn't get too close.
Nope, not at all. So Fred, I'm going to move it over to you. Welcome, and please, your opening statement.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Windsor North Central League of Women's Voters and the Windsor Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event. I'd like to thank Senator Kissel for his time. My name is Dr. Frederick Maffa. I'm a doctor of optometry and lifelong resident of Connecticut. I'm a 30-plus year resident of Granby. My wife and I have raised 3 children in Granby, and through the years we have volunteered for school and town fundraisers and coached many of our kids' teams. I've served on the Granby Board of Finance for 14 years, working across the aisle to build forward-looking and equitable budgets for the town. I'm also a doctor of optometry and a small business owner. I started Granby Family Eye Care 20 years ago last month, and I was hoping that 2020 would be a great year for an eye doctor to celebrate 20 years, but it's been a bit challenging, obviously. So I know how to address challenging budgets and also challenging personnel sometimes. I hope to help Connecticut safely through this pandemic and create a comprehensive healthcare plan for residents who have lost their insurance. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Good timing. It's almost like we know how much that is. So because Douglas has to jump off, we're going to start with our question. This is a general question to all candidates. And Douglas, the question is to you first. what specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut?
That's a very good question. And it's so timely because of what happened with the COVID-19 virus that we're experiencing right now. It's extremely important that we provide quality health care to the citizens of the state of Connecticut. And what we also learned from COVID-19 and as it relates to healthcare is the health disparities that have been so pronounced within the state of Connecticut. The equity is just is terrible. So what I like to see happen, first of all, we have to continue with the Affordable Care Act and from the federal level. That's the first start. We must maintain that Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare. And then we have to supplement. What we do from the federal level with state support when it comes to the other assurances that we have, Husky per se. And those who have private insurance, that's great. That's wonderful. But we have to provide a safety net for those individuals who do not have health care in our community, especially those communities that have been marginalized for another year. So we have to up the rates. One thing, we must improve the rates for Husky care for those who are on Husky. We have to provide more opportunities for people to get access to healthcare, meaning we need more places inside the large hospitals that we do have, but we need other urgent care facilities in our communities and have them open for a longer amount of time. One of the things I noticed is people go to the hospital for some of the more minor things that can be taking place at home or in an urgent care center. We need to expand the hours of our urgent care centers so that people can go to there and get those things taken care of, as opposed to sitting in an emergency room for something that can be done at another location. So again, we have to focus on health disparities. One, keep people healthy so they don't have to go into the hospital, and find incentives for hospitals to take those individuals. And two, we need to up the rates for healthy reimbursement. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Douglas. Now we're going to go to John Kissel. John, same question. What specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut? John, want to unmute, please? The little microphone, yep, on your toolbar. Excellent.
Went off automatically. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, went off automatically. I don't know why it does that. All right, so here we go. I think Connecticut is one of the best states to have affordable health care for a variety of reasons. You can't go 20 miles without bumping into an urgent care center or a hospital, and we have excellent physicians. The cost of healthcare is a whole nother dilemma. I would keep the Affordable Care Act. I think pre-existing conditions need to be maintained because that was a huge element of the Affordable Care Act, which a lot of people call Obamacare. That being said, we can't go too overboard with mandates on our insurance, in my humble opinion, because the middle class is stretched to the limits, especially given the economy that we have right now with COVID-19. So if their rates go up through the roof, they're just not going to be able to afford it. And so that's a problem. So we have to strike a balance. And so I look forward to going back to the Senate and striking that balance. There are some things that we have to maintain, but we can't just keep adding on and adding on and adding on into people's insurance policies because there's a vast cost to that. And that's basically my position.
All right, thank you. And we didn't even have to put up the timer reminder. Excellent. All right, Fred, same question. What specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut?
I'll I'll pivot off of Senator McCrory's excellent comments on Expand and Husky. When the Affordable Care Act came out, and I'll be honest, I was in favor of maybe a little broader type of plan from the federal government. But when the Affordable Care Act came out, and then they did the Medicaid expansion, Husky became a much more broad insurance plan in Connecticut and offers actually a wide range of benefits for my patients. And again, what Senator McCrory said was excellent. Even as a small doctor out here in Granby, I've seen patients after hours a number of times. I even had a resident I saw on an emergency basis for getting a champagne cork in the eye on New Year's Eve one time. So I do agree that we should try to limit patients going to emergency rooms. That's the most expensive form of care. I think we have to have plans like Husky where we can have patients get the proper and appropriate preventative care. Once you have disease processes like diabetes go off the rails and you start getting, in my field, let's say diabetic retinopathy, the cost becomes much.
Okay, we have a little technical connection there. All right, hold on. Hey, Fred, sorry about that. We had another candidate join and it bumped you back. So do you remember?
I was just getting on a roll.
All right, go ahead. We'll reset the timer to your remaining time slot.
No, I think that was the point I was saying. I think Senator McCrory has the right idea. I would like to, since I'm not currently serving, obviously look at some of the money aspects of it. But I think the Husky program in Connecticut is a very stable and broad program that provides patients the ability to get their preventative medicine and also emergency care. And like I said, if we can, like during the pandemic peak, the first wave, we were tasked with seeing emergencies only. We weren't seeing routine care. And if they can come to the office of the provider, it's a lot less expensive. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Fred. So far we've had a few hiccups, but you know what? Adds a little character, makes it a memorable evening. So we're going to have time for some individual questions now. And again, Douglas has to jump off. Douglas, will you be able to stay at all? Or do you need to go?
I'm gonna have to go because it's 6:15. I'm getting texts right now that I need to be on the other call.
All right.
Again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present myself. And I love serving Windsor and Bloomfield and Hartford. And hopefully, if my ballot is cast tomorrow, which it should be because I voted already, I'll be there serving you and serving the needs of the people that live in these communities. So thank you again for having me. And I wish I could stay, but unfortunately, I had a prior commitment. All right.
Thank you, Douglas. All right. And he even managed to have a 30-second closing comment on the way out. Nicely done. All right. So for John and Fred, we're going to have time for a few questions. You're going to have 2 minutes for each question, and then we'll let the other person respond and we'll alternate. Agnes, will we have time to do all of the questions, or should we limit it to 2 questions because of time?
It depends as the time goes forward. It depends how long they do it, because it's 2 minutes and 1 minute rebuttal. And because it's only 2 of them, we might be able to get in a third question.
All right. Well, it's up to you. Keep your answers
Let's
brief.
just, first of all, let's do 2 questions, see where we are at the end. If we've got time, maybe we can do a third.
Okay. Sounds good. So Fred, I'm going to start with you because John has been going first most of the evening. So here's the first question. Should Connecticut have emergency pandemic plan, i.e. emergency operations plan, that covers returning to school, daycare, and closing employers, things like that? Should Connecticut have an emergency pandemic plan?
Well, I think that what Governor Lamont's been doing with his updates and he did extend his executive privileges, and I think that was the right thing to do. We see some upticks. There are 2 nursing homes that I used to go to that had some outbreaks recently. So I think we need to follow the science, make sure everyone is doing things appropriately, like wearing face masks. Even Dr. Fauci said, even if we have a vaccine for COVID, wearing face masks will still be, and social distancing will still be much more effective than the vaccine. So hopefully Governor Lamont and the current legislature are looking to the scientists. And I would even use I think UConn's using their epidemiology department, and they've been doing a good job keeping the students at University of Connecticut safe too. So that's what I would hope for. And yeah, you have to direct. That's what government is about. You have to use government to direct the private sector to make sure people stay safe.
All right, thank you. John, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I'm okay with that. Am I still live? All right. So I think Governor Lamont has used executive orders too much. I am completely fine with the state coming up with a concrete plan that we could follow, but he has not embraced the legislature, in my opinion, and we're all elected to be the voice of the people. So he's just been sort of dictatorial, in my humble opinion, and I've met him a number of times. I like him as a person, but it's great to be king, but we have a representative government. So we all have to work together to try to fashion plans for pandemics. I don't have a problem with coming up with a plan. We have emergency centers here in the state of Connecticut, some of which are in the Holly Armory. If there's a giant snowstorm, we respond to that. If there's a giant pandemic, we should have a game plan for that. But I just think giving unilateral authority to the governor is misguided. I think he's done a good job thus far in many respects, but a lot of my constituents, I got to be honest, Granby, East Granby, Suffield, Enfield, Summers in particular, they don't like being dictated to. And so I think we need to work together
The timer
to
is
respond to
waiting.
this. I'm sorry.
Sorry, John, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just laughing at the timer.
Well, and that brings up a good question. If you're on speaker view, you may only see one person at a time with a little film strip above, or if you go to the right-hand corner under view and click gallery view, you'll be able to see everyone.
I thought it was more succinct than I was, sorry.
Not a problem. All right, thank you. Next question, John, I'm gonna give this to you. Do you support raising or lowering the state income tax and taxes on those earning more than the income threshold? If so, what should the threshold be? And third part of this, what about the corporate tax rate?
All right, we're looking at a huge budget deficit because of the coronavirus. First of all, my number one priority is to make sure that that burden doesn't get thrown onto municipalities, because the municipalities will have no other choice but to raise property taxes. So that's job number one. If I get reelected, I promise I will do everything I can to make sure that the towns get burdened with this budget deficit. As far as people's personal taxes, there's so many people that are out of work or struggling with two jobs. I can't see raising their taxes whatsoever at all. Connecticut has a tax problem. We're like Illinois and New Jersey and New York. I think we tax too much and we're not as efficient as we can be. We need to look for efficiencies before we raise taxes. And it's not easy. These are not easy choices, but that's sort of the direction that I'm going. So I'm not about to raise taxes on corporations. We've seen a lot of big corporations leave Connecticut. We've seen businesses fail in Connecticut. We've seen restaurants struggling to stay alive in Connecticut. We've seen families struggling to make ends meet. So we need to live within our means. We need to just be good New England Yankees and live within our means. And that's sort of my answer to that question.
All right, thank you. Fred, you have 1 minute for your rebuttal.
I'd like to compliment Senator Kissel on trying to not put the burden on the property tax owner. Having been on the Board of Finance here 14 years, I know the struggles of dealing with the little bit that comes from the state side. I think Connecticut needs a more progressive tax structure. I think some of the higher wage earners should pay a little bit more. Off the top of my head, I couldn't give you a threshold, but under the Biden plan, we're looking at maybe 400,000 a year. And if we look just to Eversource, let's say their top five executives averaged over $8 million a year last year in a compensation package. So I think there is some room on the high side, and we wouldn't necessarily want to raise taxes on the blue collar middle class individuals. Those of who haven't, those of who didn't, well, they should be getting a raise in the minimum wage, a bill that Senator Kissel didn't support. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Fred. And Fred, this question's going to you as we start.
Mute and unmute, sorry.
What is your position regarding the Citizens Election Program to finance election campaigns?
Well, that's actually a good one. This is my first time running for this type of office, and I give Senator Kissel a lot of credit for doing this for 25 plus years and having to do it every 2 years. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to upset some of the people that I employed or hired to help me run for this, but maybe we look at extending the term a little so that you don't have to do this every 2 years, maybe. Again, that's a little bit in jest. I think it's an important step to have publicly financed elections. We need to get as much big money out of elections as possible. And I think even though it was hard work, I don't like asking people for that initial donation. I did have easily the 300 supporters. It was just getting to the threshold to qualify for the grant that was difficult. And then I did run into an issue where my treasurer did get sick. So I had to go to a deputy treasurer setup to finish the fundraising part. But from what I've heard in other states without this type of setup, these Senate seats, these state Senate seats can get up to over 150,000, 200,000 for a position that's a part-time citizens legislature position, a position that where I think we need more citizens wanting to do this. I think it's a very rewarding thing to do. You get out, you get to meet people, you hear their concerns, and I mean, that's what I'm about. I want to help them. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Fred. John, your response, please. Rebuttal.
Well, sure. I want to thank Fred for his kind remarks. A lot of folks probably don't realize this, but I was one of the founding fathers of this campaign situation, which did not endear me to many Republicans, but getting big money out of campaigns is a huge deal. Now, that being said, I disagreed with some of my other colleagues when this was actually formed because they wanted a one size fits all. And to my mind, you don't need $100,000 to run for state senator in North Central Connecticut. You might need that in Greenwich. Unfortunately, it's one size fits all. That being said, the fact that we don't have huge influxes of dollars coming into campaigns and changing people's opinions, I think is helpful. So I completely support this. Whenever there's these proposals to take it apart, I don't support them. And I'm proud of the program. I think we've made great strides here in the state of Connecticut. Imagine if this was the policy for the United States. All right, thank you.
That was a heavy hand of the timekeeper coming down. Thank you very much.
But I recognized it.
All right, excellent. Thank you. All right, John, next question. What is the best way for members of the... Yes, Agnes?
It's 6:30 now.
Okay.
How far were we going to go? We were going to go to 6:30, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So, well, here's the thing. This is our
They
second...
get 1 minute. They each get 1 minute closing.
Oh, I was going to say we
Now.
could get one more question in, but
Would you like to get one question so they get 2 questions each?
Well, we did get 2 questions each.
You did? Okay.
all right.
Sounds good. Then I'll tell you
But
what.
they each get closing remarks now.
All right, the heavy hand of the timekeeper. All right.
Well, you have a lot of reps to get in.
I know, that's right. John, 1 minute, please take it away for your closing statement.
I've never loved a job better than representing the people of North Central Connecticut than I do at this point in time. From the very first day I was elected, it was a tremendous honor and privilege to go and be their voice in North Central Connecticut. I'm asking for all the people of Windsor and North Central Connecticut for their vote. I totally respect the opinions of my opponent. That's what the democratic process is all about. The League of Women Voters of Windsor and North Central Connecticut, the Windsor Chamber of Commerce, I thank you endearingly for continuing to do this on an annual basis. And that's about all I can say. I really love this job. And I look forward to working as hard as I can to represent everybody in North Central Connecticut.
All right, thank you, John. Fred, please take us home.
Oh, thank you for hosting this event, and thank you, Senator Kissel. I'd like to thank all the voters I've met over the past couple of weeks while I've been door knocking. I want to tell them to keep up the good work with the wearing of the masks and social distancing, and we can get through this. In closing, if you feel this district needs a senator that can speak to your energy and energy supply needs and also affordable healthcare needs, I would ask you for your vote this November 3rd or currently during absentee ballot mail-in. And thank you again for hosting this event. It was a joy to be a part of it.
All right, thank you both and for joining us. And now, I don't know how to do this. How do we gently have you sign off? And then we're going to have our representative sign on. So again, thank you for joining us and best of luck to both of you. And feel free to stay and watch. Agnes will be more than happy to help you join as an attendee.
Did you want to go in as an attendee, or did you just want to sign off?
I need to have my supper.
Yeah, I have.
Then you can just go ahead and leave the meeting. There's a little red button at the bottom. And we thank you tremendously for joining us.
Yep.
After
Sorry
debate
for
party
being
with
so-
my dog. So
No problem. Thank you. So at this point, we're going to have our candidates for the office representative come on. We're going to gently move them in.
I'm going to make them as panelists now.
Yes, please. Scott, welcome. Before
Thank
we
you.
jump in, we want to do a sound check. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take a moment as we prepare for our next part of our evening.
Okay, Bobby Gibson came in, but then he went off. So
Okay.
we are waiting for Brendan McGee and Bobby Gibson.
All right. Bobby's on. Charles.
And Danielle Wong.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Before we jump
there he is.
in, we're going to take a moment to do a sound check. We want to make sure we can hear you and see you. Tammy, can you hear us and see us?
Certainly can. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you. Charles, welcome back. We can hear you, see you.
Hello.
Thank you. Jane, good evening. Can you hear us and see us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Bobby, can you hear us and see us?
Jack Henry was on before, but he's left too. I'm hoping he'll come back. He and Bobby Gibson.
Bobby's with us. He's
Oh, excuse me. Bobby's here.
temporarily muted. All right. So
We have Jane and we have Scott. Tammy is here. Jack Henry was here earlier, but he's not here now. Brendan McGee is not here. So we're looking for Brendan McGee and Jack Henry, and then Danielle Wong had said she had a conflict tonight, so I don't know whether she's going to show or not. We're hoping she will.
okay. So we're going to just take a minute and review. I don't know
Jack
if you
Henry's here.
All right. Thank you, Agnes. I'm going to go over some of the things. As you notice, we're doing this virtually, so some of the things we've done in the past slightly different. Right up front, the virtual format. We're not able to take questions live from the audience, but we do have prepared questions for everyone. I will take a minute to go over how much time each of you have to answer the questions, and the format's been pretty similar. And I think many of you have noticed the senatorial candidates discussing this. Again, we're going to be very patient because of technology challenges and issues. So we'll go with the flow. We're live on YouTube, streaming as well through the Windsor Chamber of Commerce. So we do have people watching us there. Marilyn Beam is our timer. Marilyn, you should be able to see Marilyn, and she'll help by holding up 15-second reminders or time. And if Agnes really gets back, Agnes has control. She can mute us all down if we get to that point where we're going over. But we're going to try to respect everyone's time, stick on schedule. There are a couple people missing, as Agnes mentioned. We'll do our best to bring them into the rotation. Very simply, I want to go over how much time we have to answer. We're going to allow everyone 1 minute for an opening comments for each of you. You'll have 2 minutes to respond to a general question. And then we have 2 minutes for individual questions for each candidate, plus 1 minute for a rebuttal. So you can do that with your party, or you can do that if you have someone that's running against you, theoretically, to rebut that if they're here. Agnes, we may have to make sure we have people who are here who are running your opponents. And then each candidate will have 1 minute closing. Any questions, technology questions? We're doing our best to monitor that. At this point, most of us have been using Zoom. So theoretically, the only thing I want to share, if you get bumped off, if you get disconnected, please jump back on. Other than that, I think we're all set. Any questions before we jump in?
We're missing one. Well, Bobby Gibson and Jack Henry are there. Could you please unmute yourself and let us know whether we can hear you?
You see Jack, you said?
Yeah, I see Jack Henry. He's there. He is the,
Yep, he's running against Tammy.
yep. And Bobby, there he is.
Hey, welcome,
Hello.
Jack. All right.
Okay, there's Jack Henry. Now we're just waiting for Bobby Gibson.
All right. We know
If
he's
he would
here.
just unmute himself and let us know whether he's there and around. And then the only person, we're waiting for Brendan McKee. Danielle Wong had said, who is running in the 15th district. She had said that she was unavailable this night. We had sent her everything hoping that she would be able to join us, but then we do have about 4 minutes to go.
Okay. So I'll tell you what, I think we'll start off. We'll give everyone an opportunity to give their opening statement, and we'll start right from the top. I'm going to move over to Charles because Charles was here early and he was first in line. So Charles,
Are you going to wait until 6:45, which we had said we were going to go from 6:45 to 7:45, because I have 6:40 right now.
Well, we can, or knowing how long that it takes to go over, we can start.
Good,
I
let's
would
start.
prefer to start, and then if anyone shows up by that time, we'll have perfect timing. We'll let every candidate give their opening and we can get everyone going. So Charles, I'm going to go right over to you, please.
Hello, thank you very much for hosting this event. I appreciate it. Let me just make sure I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I got 3 Zooms going. It's kind of complicated here. I've got to run inside shortly for my son's parent-teacher conference that they're holding this week for Windsor. In any case, my name is Charles Windsor Jackson III. I am candidate for the 5th District, House Assembly 5th District. And I live in Windsor on Wilson Avenue. I feel like I'm not a very good public speaker without a script. I will work of that. My point is that this has been awesome. The whole process. I'm on the ballot twice as an independent and as a Republican. And I was able to do that in a very, very short period of time. And all it took was my library card and a pen. And in any case, I am on several different commissions, boards, and so on. And I just like the fact that we can have a conversation and not argue. National politics is one thing, local is another. And please consider Charles Windsor Jackson III as your independent Republican. And I would like to give a shout out to Tammy Zalastowski. Thank you for your help. Charlie Zarenka, really appreciated your help. And there is a case, and we're going to go with it. Thank you very much for your time. Vote Jackson.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Agnes, I don't see Brandon. Do you see him at all?
No, Brendan McKee is, I'm going to check on attendees, but nope, he's not here yet.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Jane,
let's go down to Jane
Yep.
and Scott Storm.
Jane, please take it away. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, my name is Jane Garibay. I'm state representative for the 60th district. During my 2 years as state representative, I have had the opportunity to serve my district in many ways. First year of my term, I proposed legislation and co-signed legislation on opioids, cost-saving measures in state departments, employment opportunities for veterans, and paid family leave and more. But then COVID arrived and things changed. I have spent the last 8 months reaching out to constituents to see if I could help with unemployment benefits, testing, needs of food, and listening to people to share what was happening in their lives. Over the past 8 months, I have felt the struggle that so many of you have felt, wondering how you would pay bills, get medical care, find employment. I've had to face this crisis with all of you. I have listened to you, cried with you, and along the way, I have learned how to help you. If I am reelected, I will continue to help the people in my district. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jane. We're going to go over to Scott Storm. Scott, welcome.
Unmute yourself, Scott, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Scott Storms, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce for once again hosting tonight's forum. I've been here several times and I've always enjoyed it. Having served as a state representative in 2017 through 2019, I welcome the opportunity to have this discussion with the voters of Windsor and of our state. I truly believe that we have to change the direction that our state has taken over the last decade or so. And most importantly, we have to restore a sense of a common sense to Hartford. If I'm fortunate enough to return to Hartford, I'll promote a consistent message of fiscal responsibility, sound management practices, maximizing of our existing revenues while eliminating excessive and wasteful spending. We must bring about smart spending policies which meet the core functions of government affecting education, public health, safety, and transportation. But we have to do this without imposing excessive new taxes and fees, which will inevitably lead to stagnation of business and job growth. We have to do better, and we can do better. I hope to be there to offer a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Bobby, can you hear us okay? Bobby?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome, how are you?
Excellent. You have a minute for your opening statement. Please take it away.
Okay, good evening, thank you. I am State Representative Bobby Gibson. I would like to thank the Windsor North Central League of Women Voters and the Windsor Chamber of Commerce for hosting the 2020 virtual Meet the Candidates Forum. I would also like to thank all the candidates here tonight for participating. I was elected to represent the 15th District of the Connecticut House of Representatives on January 9th of 2018. I am an educator and I'm a coach. I am the first district social action chairman of the Mega Psi Phi Attorney Incorporated, and I serve on the board of directors for Discovering a Homicide, and I'm also a trustee and usher at Hopewell Baptist Church. I am an assistant majority leader, and I serve as vice chairman of the General Law Committee and I'm on the Education and Appropriation Committees. My legislative priorities will focus on education, the environment, seniors, and the fair living conditions for all of Connecticut citizens. I am most proud of sponsoring the passing of Public Act 19-12, the inclusion of African American, Black, Puerto Rican, Latino studies in Connecticut schools. I was selected as an environmental champion by the League of Conservation and Voters, and to be re-elected, I will seek to continue to approve bipartisan legislation for the betterment of all Connecticut residents. I thank you, and I'm looking forward to a great evening.
All right, thank you, Bobby. Jack, can you hear us okay? Are you able to give your opening statement? Oh, you're still muted, Jack. Could you unmute yourself, please? Nope, still muted. I know. One more time.
Do you hear me now?
We
Yes.
can. Thank you.
Wow.
Take it away, please.
We lost our internet about 15 minutes ago. And so I'm doing this on my wife's phone.
You sound good and you look good. Please
All right, thank you.
take it away.
All right. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. My name is Jack Henry, and I am the Democratic candidate for state representative to represent you in the 61st District. I have lived in Suffield since 1987, served on the Board of Finance for 10 years, and am currently Suffield's elected town treasurer. I'm a CPA with a master's in business administration degree and have been a Suffield business owner since 1994, mainly working with CEOs to help them grow their businesses. Over my career, I've created hundreds of jobs and greatly increased economic growth. I intend to apply my extensive expertise in Hartford to create jobs and revitalize our economy safely. Our children's education is the most important investment we can make for our future. The Connecticut Education Association gives grades to all legislators. My opponent's score is a failing 51. I completed the CEA questionnaire with a perfect score of 100. As your state representative, I will work to fund our schools so that children have access to a safe, equitable, quality education. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. And Tammy, you're up next, please.
My mouse fell asleep. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here tonight. It's my honor to serve the 61st District as state representative since 2014. I currently serve as ranking member of the Planning and Development Committee and am a member of the Appropriations and Transportation Committees. I was named Legislator of the Year by the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, CCM, got the Town Crier Award from the Council of Small Towns, recognizing my work to help municipalities, including stopping new unfunded mandates that increase property taxes. I've been a small business owner for the past 24 years, previously an executive vice president of Northeast Savings and assistant director of the Yukon School of Business Real Estate Center. I've been endorsed by business groups, retired teachers, police associations, and the Independent Party of Connecticut, not the CEA, because they really have a lot less to do with education than they do union membership. My primary goal for the next session is to get the state back on its feet after COVID-19 and use that momentum to make Connecticut even better than before. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Agnes, it's a little past 6:45, so I think we'll continue.
Go right to the questions.
Go right to the questions. Charles, I'm going to start with you from the top. You're going to have 1 minute to answer this question. Excuse me, 2 minutes. General question. Everyone's going to get this question. What specific steps would you propose to support the affordable access to medical care in Connecticut?
Well, I believe that to help people get access to their health care, it'd be to have more community-based health centers. Now, we have one here in Wilson, which is now closed because of the COVID situation. I believe that it would be really neat to have neighborhood doctors again. Maybe that there's a way that we can have, if we can give Amazon $8 million a tax break, we can give a doctor a tax break on his office, especially in the age of COVID, where most of the doctor's offices now, the health centers, they're packed and they have a waiting list. I'm still waiting to get my general physical. So I would love to see that there will be smaller offices, more satellites. Other than that, Affordable Care Act needs to stay and it needs to be more robust. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, Charles. It looks like, Brandon, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
All right, Agnes, can we allow Brandon to give us his opening statement?
Yes, I would give him 1 minute, his 1 minute to do an opening statement.
All right, Brandon, sorry, but jumping right in, just follow the crowd, give your 1 minute statement, and I'm going to put you back in rotation. Please take it away.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you to the League of Voters. Every year, we have this opportunity as candidates and just concerned citizens to learn a little bit more about our candidates, our elected officials, and where we stand. Having served in this capacity for the last 7.5, 8 years now, I've had the opportunity to represent the town of Windsor and the city of Hartford, serving as chair of the Housing Committee. Also the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus. I serve on the following committees as just a general member: Human Services and Education. In light of the pandemic, I am committed to being sure that we're ahead of the conversation on education, health, and housing, and really getting our communities back at a place where we feel some sense of normalcy. Wow, a minute goes quick. So I'm excited to be here and glad to answer any questions as we continue throughout the night.
Thank you, Brandon. And thank you for joining us. I know, as Jack mentioned earlier, there's been some heavy wind across the area. I know there's some technical outages. And so.
Yeah, I actually came to my church because the power was out at my house.
Yep, thank you. And like I said, we're going to go with the flow. We'll do our best to accommodate everyone. Jane, we're going to go over to you for the question. What specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut?
So if I knew the answer to that question, I'd be not only rich, but very popular. Having said that, I do believe in the Affordable Care Act and helping all people to have insurance. Other countries do it. We have to get a team together of people that can look at it and choose the best that's happening everywhere. The Affordable Care Act was not perfect, but I knew a lot of people that were on it. They could afford it. Our comptroller, Kevin Lembo, came out with a plan working with the insurance company so it wasn't hurting the businesses. That would have reduced it by 30 to 40% the cost. The same thing with medicines. People that have to pay $700 a month for one med to stay alive. It's just, it's impossible. I don't know the answer, but I know we have to do something. We're smart people. The United States is creative, ingenuity, and we have to have the resolve to say, we're going to do this. We're going to take care of it and move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Bobby, question to you. What specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut?
Thank you for the question. And it's a very interesting question. And again, like Representative Garrity said, if we had the answer to this, we would be a lot better off. Because, I'm very sensitive to this because the lack of health care is really something that is disparaging based on color. A lot of times we find that people who are low income or people of color don't have access to affordable health care. I do agree that we need to have more community-based health centers. And in lieu of not having a clear health plan, we need to keep the Affordable Care Act. We have not seen anything out there that can replace it. I'm proud that we were able to pass this past time in special session a cap on insulin, and we're trying to keep medical costs down. But I think we need to look at things like providing more access to healthcare, as far as like having more community-based health centers. I agree with that. That statement was said earlier, as well as maybe even actually looking into a public option to help us with our healthcare needs. It's a tough thing, but it's something that we really have to put our minds together. And I'm looking to have bipartisan talks because this is something that affects us all.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. Jack, coming over to you. Same question. What specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut? Jack, you're muted, please.
Jack, you need to unmute yourself.
Nope, you're still muted, Jack. There you go.
How about now? I would support mandating insurance coverage of essential health benefits, expanding mandated health benefits for women, children, and adolescents, more access to community health centers, the public option for healthcare. In the end, ultimately, I would look to a Medicare for all as universal healthcare. We find that nearly all of the other major countries have adopted something along those lines, and it's a much less expensive option than what we're using here in the United States. I would also look to raise home healthcare workers' pay. And we do have to maintain the Affordable Care Act until we're able to take further steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Tammy, I'm going to you next, and then Brandon, you're going to follow Tammy with this final question. Tammy, what specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut?
Sure, this is a good question. It's really part of the overall affordability issues that we have in the state. A couple of years ago in the legislature, we did pass a bill that would protect Connecticut residents in the event that the Affordable Care Act were repealed. I can't remember what year it was, but I know that there was some stopgap in it. I think the most important thing is to cover pre-existing conditions. That is huge because pre-existing conditions can be anything from cancer to back problems to knee problems. So that's a huge deal. What Charles mentioned about community-based health centers, I think it's a great idea. I think there should also be increased health facilities available through schools because we can catch things earlier. I also believe greatly and support parity for mental health issues as well as physical health. I really think that's a huge issue. I've also supported coverage of PTSD for first responders. I think we have to look to both the mind and the body for our residents. We just need to make sure that we are able to make sure to have our people have access. There's a difference between insurance and health access, and we need to make sure that they have access. One last thing, we also need to get our hands around the rate increases on long-term care insurance, which has been an issue that's been brought to my attention over the past couple of years. We were working on it before the COVID pulled the plug on the session, but that's also important as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Brandon, this is I guess you're the last person for the general question. So to you, Scott, did I miss you?
I think you did. Yeah.
I apologize. I'm going to go to Brandon and then I'll go to you, Scott. Brandon, what specific steps would you propose to support affordable access to medical care in Connecticut?
Steve, thank you so much for the question. And I think it's one of the most important questions as we continue to experience this pandemic. When we talk about our qualified health centers, FQHCs, federally qualified health centers throughout the state, they're not new to many of our communities. In fact, throughout this pandemic, myself alongside Jane Garibay and Bobby Gibson, we've worked closely with our federally qualified health centers to shore up, number one, their capacity by advocating our federal delegation to ensure funding in response to the pandemic, but most importantly, build on those relationships that they have with our community. But more specifically in the Connecticut legislature, we've got to strengthen and expand upon the Affordable Care Act, essentially shoring up the Medicaid program and lower prescription drugs, among other opportunities. So it's a big conversation. It's a loaded question. And to think that the House of Representatives could really take on that massive job is a little unfair, but it will take both sides of the aisle, following my colleague Bobby Gibson, to really tackle this huge challenge that we're faced with in the state of Connecticut and even in this country.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. And Scott, my apologies.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Because I could just say ditto to everything that was there and stop the time right there. I did want to, and I always love following Representative Zawistowski because she took my thunder about the 2017-2019 legislative session where we did protect against a diminution of the affordable health care. We are protecting our Connecticut citizens by giving them essential protection under any insurance here in the state of Connecticut. And that was a huge thing. So I am not so concerned about a national issue with affordable health care since we protected our Connecticut citizens. I do agree that access is a big concern. We also have to look at the deductibles on all these policies because many small businesses are struggling to give these benefits out to their employees. The plans that are being offered to our employees have huge deductibles, and then that puts an extra burden on the employer and the employee for reasonable health care at a reasonable cost. So you can have an affordable health care program that is so expensive that nobody can afford it. So we need to look at that. And I love the idea of supporting local clinics, keeping people out of the hospitals, giving them a local access. And that's an answer to the question. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Scott. So at this point, we're going to go to our general question. Each candidate will get one question. You'll have 2 minutes to answer that. And your opponent, if you have your opponent here, will have a minute for a rebuttal. I'm going to flip the order. I'm going to be starting on the end of my list. So Tammy, you're going to be going first, if you don't mind. The question for you, because I don't want to make you wait, I'm sure you get that a lot, but the question.
I really appreciate that.
All right. Trying to mix it up a little, not much I can do online, but here's your question. Would you support modernizing the Connecticut bottle bill? What are your thoughts on legislation proposed in both 2019 and 2020?
It's interesting because I probably had more phone calls from redemption centers on that issue than a lot of other things. It's an area that I think we need to tread very carefully because you've got a couple of interests. You've got the redemption center people that are trying to get by. They want to try to get more, they're trying to make a better bang for the buck for the bottles. You also have the state of Connecticut who is getting revenue from unreturned bottles. And then you have people who are actually have to pay, you pay the deposit. So there's a lot of different, I'm very sorry about that phone. I actually unplugged them. This should stop very quickly. I don't think, I think because of the various lobbying and the different interests, I think that's why it stalled last time. I could not support anything that increases the amount that has any deposit to people, just because right now, anything that can help people afford things is better as far as I'm concerned. But that's really it. I'm not sure if there's going to be much action on it this coming year. It's hard to tell. I know there'll be attempts, but there's too many disagreements on it, and it just basically went nowhere.
All right. Thank you, Tammy. Jack, you're going to have a minute to rebut that or share your comments, please.
Please unmute yourself, Jack.
There we go.
There he is.
I do believe that we do have a problem because of COVID and such that, we can't just go ahead and increase the amount of the deposit. However, at some point in time,
I'll take it upstairs.
it's an ultimate thing that we should increase it. And then the reason would be for further environmental protection. And I'm all about the environment. I have been throughout my life. And I even own the first Prius that was purchased in the state of Connecticut. So I do feel that is necessary, but is not something that we have to do immediately because of the current economic status. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jack. So I'm going to go up to Charles. Charles, are you available? Uh-oh. The moment I go to him for a question, right?
No, I'm right here.
All right. Are you able to go?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Here's your question. What is your position on banning rapid fire gun enhancements such as the bump stocks?
Well, I believe in everyone's right to bear arms, but rapid fire, you can't even rapid fire at a gun range. I don't see a need for it. If a problem can't be solved in 10 rounds or less, you've got a bigger problem than having a massive bullets. Besides, it doesn't make a difference. You can't find any ammo anyhow. Sorry, but modifications to guns, I'm not for it. But I also believe that it's a conversation that we need to have over the next couple years or so, and so on and so on. I think that I believe that the gun control laws that are being passed right now in Connecticut are very, very good. I believe that if we got too strict, it will start something that we don't want to go down, a road that we don't want to go down. Long story short, I am a gun owner, responsible gun owner. I have no urge to get a bump stock, and I don't know anyone that has one or wants one. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Brandon, you have a minute for your comments, please.
Yeah, actually, I wish I was a Jack Henry. He had quite a few people join us, so it must be really cool to be a Jack. But on a more serious note, we're all reminded of the shooter in Las Vegas, or rather the shooting that happened in Las Vegas about a year ago. And that shooter used a bump stock. And, I don't usually agree with my opponent, but I got to tell you, I agree with him in this instance that number one, nothing against any gun carrier who is managing their guns and they're doing the right thing and holding the Constitution, upholding their constitutional right. But I do not support any bump stock here in the state of Connecticut.
Thank you, Brandon. Jack, your question is, how do you plan to ensure the voices of the underrepresented groups, i.e. Black Lives Matter, are taken into consideration in the legislative process?
Thank you for that question, Steve. I've been very involved with Suffield's anti-bias, anti-racism, and definitely support everything associated with Black Lives Matter. We must address systemic racism through education, and we must move on social justice, and we need to have some judicial, police, and prison reform. And I'm all about promoting racial equity, justice, and peace throughout our community and the state and country. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jack. And Tammy, back to you. You have 1 minute to answer that.
Sure. I think that any underrepresented group has the opportunity to be able to come to the Capitol, come speak to their legislators, come and testify. And I would encourage them to do that, whether it's a racial group, it's some different genders, people with disabilities. I think all of these groups' voices need to be heard, because all of these all people have rights under our U.S. Constitution, and we need to make sure that we have representation and get input from everybody. So I think it's just important. So it's it's hard to argue with it, definitely. But I would definitely encourage anybody that has anything to say to absolutely say it, especially if they're underrepresented. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tammy. Jane, I'm going to share this next question with you. States must have a balanced budget, but no one planned on paying for a pandemic. Where will the revenue come from? If services need to be cut, what ones would you propose?
Oh, that's a tough one, Steve. So one way can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. It's a tough one, and it's just by order. I'm thinking, man, that's a good question. But I know Jane, she can answer this one. All right. States must have a balanced budget, but no one planned on paying for a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Where will the revenue come from? If services need to be cut, what services would you propose?
Well, first, we have to take a look at the monies that the federal government is giving us for COVID and putting that to good use. I think the governor coming out with 30% of our employees retiring in the next year or two gives us an opportunity. And the governor has asked every department to look at how they're spending money, what they're doing with it. Do they need technology? How many people do they need? And to really do some house cleaning. I'm also excited about, the city, cities in our state are being reimbursed for COVID related items. So there are monies coming in that we can work with. I would have a hard time. I know the governor has also, it started back in Governor Malloy's time. There's over, I heard it was going to be about $3 billion in our rainy day fund. And that will help us get through some of the COVID, et cetera. I would have a hard time, like the bipartisan budget of 2 years ago, took away Medicare for 13,000 seniors and special needs adults. So I think we have to be very careful. I can't say I would be able to tell you right now, but I don't think we can do it where it hurts people. And I believe you can be fiscally responsible and care about people too. It's where we're spending the money. And we'll have to relook that because our infrastructure is in dire need. There's just lots going on, but I don't want to hurt people. So we have to look at that, make our departments lean in the state, and try to get expenses under control.
Great. Thank you, Jane. Scott, would you like me to repeat the question for your rebuttal?
No, I think I have it. So I would agree that it's a very difficult question. Anytime you start looking at trying to save money within a state budget, you are faced with knowing that if you cut a program, you're going to hurt people. So it's always a difficult issue. So you want to first look at places where you might be able to save some money. One of the things that has come up over the years is that if we competitively bid all of our contracts within the state of Connecticut, we could save up to $200 million a year. The other thing we could do, we could outsource our Medicaid program to a private concern such as Aetna or Cigna. And it's estimated that if we do that, we could save between $400 million and $500 million a year. I mean, right away, you're looking over a biennial of about $1.5 billion that you could save without cutting a program, without hurting people. I do agree that we have to look at where we could save money within the departments. The governor has asked for a study, but the legislature has to have the political will and not just leave the study on the bookcase. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Bobby, I'm going to give you the next question. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
All right. Your question is, do you support in-person early voting and or expanded use of absentee mail-in voting? Please explain your response and indicate if you would support the required constitutional changes to allow mail-in voting.
Okay. Thank you for that question. So the ability to vote is a privilege, a right that many of us have earned. And to anything that will stop us from being able to vote as citizens has to be eliminated. So we need to look in the direction of actually providing more access to voting. I've had conversations with the register of voters in the 15th district, and they are in support of absentee ballot voting, early voting, but we need more support. They need more funding. They need more people to help them to actually count the ballots and to make sure that everything is done securely and safely. So any measures that we take to increase voter turnout I support. In special session, a couple weeks back, we voted to increase access to voting. So it's something that we support. It's something that our people need, and especially during this time of COVID. We have to make sure that the most vulnerable of us who really want to vote, who really want to come out, have access to do that. Knocking on the doors all this summer, and actually still knocking on doors now. There's so many people who are happy to have their absentee ballots and being able to vote absentee ballots. So it's something that I do support, and we should look into actually using more technology and having more access to voting.
All right, thank you, Bobby. The moment we're gonna figure out how to handle his response, I'd like to open it up to anyone on the other side like to respond to that for Bobby. We don't want to leave him hanging. We want to show some love here. Anybody?
Sure. What was the question again? Was it just the expansion of voting, and what else?
Do you support in-person early voting and or expanded use of absentee mail-in voting? Please explain your response and indicate if you would support the required constitutional change to allow mail-in voting.
I underscore everything that Bobby Gibson just said. I support it. I support the constitutional change. And as a matter of fact, many of the voters in the state of Connecticut on both sides of the aisle received an absentee ballot. Now, whether or not they'll complete that application for the ballot and mail it back or send it to the absentee ballot box, that's on the voter. But I do definitely support increasing access. We talk about access often, and as a Black man and knowing my history, and everyone else on this call knows the history of voter suppression in many communities of color, and it's even happening now. Why wouldn't we support the expansion of voting and access to the ballot box? Thanks.
All right, thank you. Scott, I'm going to go over to you with your question. What is your position on state assistance to municipalities in the event of unplanned expenditures?
You're talking an emergency situation where the municipality is in dire straits? Is that what we're talking about here? I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. I'll reread the question as it's written. What is your position on state assistance to municipalities in the event of unplanned expenditures?
Well, in the first instance, I think every municipality should be planning for those unplanned expenditures. Each one should be allowed to have an emergency reserve fund, which doesn't impact state grants or aid. I know in some instances, a town which has been fiscally conservative, saved money, will be penalized in arbitration because they've saved 10, 15% of their reserve fund. The general accounting principles for municipalities say that you should have 15% in a reserve fund. So the municipalities should be allowed to do that and should not be penalized at all. And in the case of an emergency, I think the state should be available for short-term funding for emergencies for municipalities. We pay taxes into the state, and that fund should be available on a limited basis. I think, COVID's a perfect example. We're all struggling with it. If the state gets money from the federal government, municipalities are struggling with the emergency. It should be shared with the municipalities.
All right, thank you, Scott. Jane, you have a minute to respond.
Yes. So I believe it's all interconnected. When we pay tax, whether it's the state, the federal government, or the local government, it's our taxes that are being used for these things. And I think that we do a pretty good job of towns working with the state with ECS funding and different things, but it all comes out of our pockets. So wherever it comes from, we just have to make sure people are all right. So if the state can help with that, that's great. If they're getting the monies from the federal government, they have to be able to distribute that to all the towns to help them be okay. And COVID will be a learning session for us, I think, and for all people, because we really have never experienced something like this before. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. All right, Brandon, I think you have the last question of the evening, at least regarding this event. What steps can the state legislature take to address lack of fair and affordable housing in most Connecticut communities, and what is your position on zoning? What steps can
I was gonna say, can you repeat the first half of your question?
Yeah,
Did get the last part.
Yep. What steps can the state legislature take to address the lack of fair and affordable housing in most Connecticut communities, and what is your position on zoning?
Yeah, and how many minutes I have for this? 2? All right, so it's a really great question that warrants, I think, a longer discussion on the importance of affordable, however we want to define that. I don't think we've actually defined affordability around housing in the state of Connecticut. But I'll start off by saying this. Connecticut is one of the most segregated states when you begin talking about housing. And we know some maybe 40, maybe 50 years ago, how redlining and zoning practices basically prevented certain groups of people from living in certain communities for various reasons. And as chair of the legislature's housing committee, myself alongside my co-chair, we've introduced legislation that would eventually hold municipalities accountable with respect to developing quality housing. So there are many ways to go about addressing it. Number one, we could encourage housing authorities to do business in other communities. A lot of folk are not really excited about that. We can be extremely aggressive by changing some of the zoning laws. But again, for this to be sustainable, it's important that we all have these conversations with our municipal leaders, our zoning and planning directors, so that it's not a fight. There will be a fight, but let's start off by at least having the conversation and really stating the reality in many of our neighborhoods. And that is, there are all of these special codes of, we want to preserve the character of our community, and we want single family, not multi units. And I mean, there are so many discriminatory practices that are in place. It's sad. So I am continued, and I'm glad that Windsor is not a part of that conversation. Oh man, it's time. Shoot. All right. Thanks. Maybe I'll have a chance to rebut. All right.
Before Agnes comes with that big thumb button.
No, I just saw I like it on speaker view, so I only see you.
Oh, no problem. Charles, you have a minute for your rebuttal, please.
Well, here in Windsor, we have a shortage, I'm sorry, we have a waiting list for the Housing Authority of about 100 people or more. Recently, the town of Windsor had a finance committee meeting, or a special meeting, to discuss a tax abatement request by a local developer to build multifamily homes or affordable housing. The site and the potential sites that they're looking at is this open field that we have here in Wilson, where it's the site of our carnival that we normally have, which is no more. It's our only open space, and they're looking at selling that property to be developed. Last year, there was a concerted push to put out plans. What should it be? Commercial? Should it be housing? Should it be whatever? The point is that there is a movement right now. Someone is putting in the foundation to try and build in Windsor, in Wilson, affordable housing. And I hate to tell you this, but Wilson is already affordable. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Charles. So at this point, we're going to start wrapping things up. We're going to have each candidate give a 1-minute closing statement. I'm going to start in the middle of my list. I'm trying to balance this and give everyone an opportunity. So I'm going to start with Bobby. Bobby, are you ready to go? 1 minute closing, please.
Yes. So I would like again to thank the Windsor North Central League of Women Voters and the Windsor Chamber of Commerce for hosting the 2020 virtual Meet the Candidates evening. And I would like to thank all my candidates that are on the Zoom for your participation. It's been very stimulating, and I think everyone did a fantastic job. It's been my honor to represent the 15th district. I worked very hard during my first term. I think myself and my colleagues, the Windsor delegation, I think we got a lot done during that time. But we have a lot more work to do. And especially now, people are hurting so much, and with this COVID, we have an awesome responsibility as state representatives to actually do that, to represent the people that we serve. And so I look forward to working with everyone on the Zoom bipartisanly, and to get some real things done and make some real change, make a real change. So I encourage everyone to exercise the right to vote either through absentee ballots, or I'll see you at the polls on November 3rd, and let's make a difference.
Thank you. Got to be careful that time. It was getting really tight. The end of the night. All right, Jack, 1 minute, please.
I pledge to protect critical social services and equal rights, ensuring access to affordable, quality health care, including essential health benefits for all Connecticut residents. I will pledge to preserve and protect our environment and to ensure necessary
Uh-oh. Did we lose Jack?
He got frozen.
Uh-oh. We may have to come back. This is where we roll with the punches. All right, let's give him a moment to see if he returns. He looks like he's about to say something very important.
He's probably said his whole speech.
I know. Unfortunately, we're going to have to come back around to him. All right, Tammy, I'm going to go over to you, if you don't mind, please.
Sure, not a problem. Want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce for offering this again. Those of us who serve in the legislature next year will have a lot of work to do, and I'm eager to return and work hard on behalf of my constituents. The immediate problem is rebuilding our state's economy and getting our schools open safely. We also need to do something to tackle affordability in our state. Working families and retirees find it difficult to afford living in Connecticut, especially if they've lost income during the pandemic. We shouldn't be raising taxes or adding tolls. We need to reduce spending without jeopardizing programs for those who really need the help. I also support regulatory changes to our public utilities to decrease energy costs. I've been able to get some bills through this past term, and I've done that by developing relationships by those on both sides of the aisle, finding common ground and doing what's best for my district and for the state of Connecticut. My constituents come first, not politics. I serve everyone in my district and I work hard on their behalf. You can help me return by voting for me on November 3rd, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Jane, I'd like to move over to you, please.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce for inviting us today. COVID has turned everything upside down. People, small business, health, COVID, employment, opportunity, taking care of our vets are not partisan issues. We need to listen and work together to take care of our communities. My entire adult life, I have been doing this, and I have never put partisanship above doing what is right for the community. I promise to lead our towns and our state out of this public health and economic crisis, knowing that if we work together, we can come back stronger. I feel that everything I have done up to this point in my life has given me the tools to serve my community, and including being able to work with all people, not just those that think like me. Together, we can get the job done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jane. Scott, over to you, please.
Thank you. It's time to build a better Connecticut for all our citizens. We need an open, bipartisan process that puts people first. We have a lot of work to do to build and bring about a better Connecticut. And if we work together, we can fix Connecticut. We can make our state a place that we can all be proud to call home. I want to be part of that solution, and that's why I'm asking for your support as your state representative on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Before we go to Charles, Jack, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
We can. If you're ready to go, I'd like you to start your closing statement over again, if you don't mind, please.
I don't mind at all, and I thank you for giving me that opportunity. I don't know what's going on with my computer right now, but it dropped me entirely this time. I pledge to protect critical social services and equal rights, ensuring access to affordable, quality health care, including essential health benefits for all Connecticut residents. I will pledge to preserve and protect our environment and to ensure necessary services for seniors and for our veterans. Systemic racism toward people of color is unacceptable and must be addressed through education, including studying the history of Native Americans, Blacks, Latinos, and other minorities. We must embrace social justice and work on judicial, police, and prison reforms. I am proud to be among the founding members of ABAR Suffield, and I pledge to promote racial equity, justice, and peace in our community. Please get to know Jack through my website, www.jackhenry.com, Facebook and Instagram, Jack Henry for the 61st, and vote for Jack Henry by November 3rd. Thank you very much.
Wow. Good timing, Jack, without even seeing the timer. Thank you. I'm going to go over to Charles, and Brendan, I'm going to ask you to close up for us tonight. Charles, please take it away.
Thank you again for letting me participate in this forum. I really do appreciate it. My main goal is that I honestly don't feel represented, whether it's on I don't feel represented at all by either my local, my state, or even my government officials. And if you don't like what's going on, protest in your form that you choose to. I choose to use the political process of getting involved. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to meetings and I'm the only one from my neighborhood or this district. In short, I'm on 5 different boards and commissions in this town. I've helped a lot of people. Whether I win or lose, I'm going to still continue doing that. And I will represent this town and this district with respect and honor. And especially like to thank all the people, all the citizens of Windsor that have signed my petition so that I can be on the ballot as an independent and a Republican candidate. I am Charles Windsor Jackson III, citizen of Wilson, man of the world, and also just a cool dude, you know? Yeah. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Brandon, you have the final words tonight. Please take it away.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to the League and also to the Chamber. I'm going to take a slightly different approach to making my final remarks. It's been an honor to serve with our delegation, that on both sides of the aisle. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to returning in January. But in light of this upcoming election, I just wanted to talk a little bit about voting. And voting is one of the most impactful things you can do for yourself and for your community. And on a macro level, it's easy to think that you're just one person and that your vote doesn't make much of a difference. I'm here to tell you your vote always matters. And so simply put, voting is power. And we know that on November 3rd, we're asking each and every one of you to vote. And please support me as I continue the great work on behalf of the residents of Windsor and the city of Hartford. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. And thank all of you for attending tonight. We
Okay.
do have
I'd like to finish up.
Yep, we do have a few closing comments, and I'm going to turn it over to Agnes to finish it up.
Okay,
Please
just
stay
to
with us.
finish it up, first of all, I have a few things to remind people of. For all those voters who vote in District 1, LP Wilson Community Center, District 2, John F. Kennedy School, and District 3 at 330 Windsor Avenue, on your ballot, you will find Charles Jackson and Brendan McKee. That is the 5th Assembly District. If you vote District 4 in Town Hall, you will find Bobby Gibson and Danielle Wong. Unfortunately, Danielle was unable to be with us tonight, but Bobby was here. That's who you will find on your ballot. If you vote in District 5, Oliver Ellsworth, and District 6, the Paquonic School, that's the 60th district, and you will find on your ballot Jane Garibay and Scott Storms. And then if you vote in the 7th district, which is Rainbow Firehouse, that's the 61st, and you will find Tammy Zawantowski and Jack Henry. That's the first important thing that you should know, because your vote counts. And so you need to vote. Now, there are many ways we can vote this year. We can vote in person at our districts, but we can also vote this year, because of the pandemic, by absentee ballot. And at this point in time, Anna Posniak has sent out 6,000 absentee ballots. Your absentee ballot application deadline is Monday, November 2nd at 5 p.m. That's when you can actually request an absentee ballot. The absentee ballot drop box deadline is Tuesday, November 3rd at 8 p.m. I encourage you to please use the drop box. If you're going to choose to use the mail, please choose to get your ballot into the mail by at least 5 days in advance of the election. Election day is November 3rd from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Your vote does count. We are very happy that we were able to present this program for you. If you would like to have further information, please check out the display in the CVS front window. It has voting information in it and a voter's guide. You can also get information on the Town of Windsor's website, townofwindsorct.com. Now, the Windsor North Central League of Women Voters wants to thank all of the candidates who participated in both the senatorial and the assembly debates. We also want to thank the Windsor Chamber of Commerce, who has allowed us to live stream this on their website. And we also would like to thank Win TV, who will get a recording of this and will now record it every day up and through Election Day. We thank you all very, very much. Steve, do you have anything else to say?
Well, I think you said it all, Agnes, but thank you all for your patience and your understanding. Anytime we go virtual is always an adventure. So thank you for working with us. And it's been a pleasure, again, helping out. So have a good night, everyone. And thank you. And we'll see you on Election Day.
Your vote counts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.